What is up, Drama Alert Nation? We're back in 2025. We're back on the second channel. We are getting some content ready. We're going to be streaming on the second channel, obviously. And we're going to just trying to get videos on here as much as possible. So today we're doing something a bit different, and let's just get into it.
Take me out. It's my turn. It is. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to, yell and scream. You lost.
It is my turn.
You lost the game.
It's my.
It is a little early. I'm never gonna lie to you. I woke up because a lot of this stuff that I'm gonna be talking about today happened over the course of last night, and I'm an early sleeper. I go to sleep at 10. So once 10 o'clock hits, I'm in bed, ready to go to sleep. So I figured, wake up early in the morning and, knock this video, because today we actually have a doozy. I'm not even gonna lie. This is probably the closest thing we'll get to like drama alert, drama content on this channel, because like a lot of this stuff is crazy. I like basketball. I like basketball as much as the next guy. I would say within the past 2 or 3 years, I started watching this show called Undisputed. And if you don't know what that is, that's a sports analyst show where they talk about, the previous night's sports. They talk about football, basketball, baseball, things of that nature. Nothing out of the ordinary. There is a specific host that left about a year and a half ago named Skip Bayless. He's been a sports analyst for years, and I didn't know this while I was watching it. I didn't know until I seen super old clips of him with Stephen A. Smith. But Skip has been in the game for a very, very, very long time, and now today it's come out that he has allegations against him with sexual misconduct, and we're gonna get into that. We have the whole lawsuit document pulled up, and we're gonna go through, and we're just gonna talk about it, because this not only involves Skip, this involves a bunch of people that were at FS1 at the time and now are just throwing allegations in the air. And I'm just gonna go through the legal jargon. Like, honestly, this is crazy. But before we go through that, can you please subscribe on the second channel? I'm not even gonna lie. We are bleeding subscribers on this channel. I don't know why. I actually do know why. I have yet to upload on this channel this year. So we're going to change that. We're going to try to stream as much as possible on this channel. We're going to try to upload as much as possible, because I like doing this kind of content. Like, of course the anime stuff is fine, but like this is like a second passion of mine. So we're going to get it jumping in 2025, obviously. Okay, so we're just going to go through page by page, honestly. And starting with the first page, okay, so the lawsuit entails, I'm just gonna go down the list of what I see: failure to pay minimum wages, failure to pay overtime wages, failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to pay all wages upon separation, failure to furnish accurate itemized wage statements, unfair, unlawful, or fraudulent business practices. And here are the individual complaints: sexual battery, hostile work environment, race, national origin, hostile work environment, disability, failure to prevent harassment, negligent supervision, hiring and retention, retaliation, and wrongful termination. So we got a lot of claims here, and honestly, that's a lot. And some of these are coming from my boy Skip. And honestly, it's crazy, because I saw a post of Skip Bayless the other day, and I'm like, man, I really miss seeing Skip on TV, because he's a funny dude. And somebody commented like yesterday, like, yo, he has to talk about these allegations. I'm like, that's crazy, because he does. But anyway, let's get into the first thing, which is Mr. Dixon gives Miss Taylor Undisputed as a reward for having sex with them. In approximately March 2016, Miss Faraji met Miss Taylor, an aspiring sports personality that had recently moved from Miami to Los Angeles for the opportunity of airtime at Fox. At the time, Miss Taylor didn't have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-to-day basis when talent was sick or otherwise missed time. Miss Taylor told Miss Faraji that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami, and that she was lonely in Los Angeles. Miss Taylor then befriended Miss Faraji. In approximately May 2016, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet for a drink in Santa Monica. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with an older man, Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Content, Mr. Dixon. As Executive Vice President, Mr. Dixon is responsible for overseeing all content and production on FS1. Miss Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. When Mr. Dixon went out to buy them another round of spicy margaritas, Miss Faraji asked who he was. Miss Taylor responded that he was just a friend. Following that night, whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for drinks or food, Mr. Dixon would either arrive with Miss Taylor or show up later that night and leave with Miss Taylor. He would always buy rounds of drinks and or food. From their body language, Miss Faraji suspected that the pair were sleeping with each other, and although this concerned Miss Faraji, as she knew Miss Taylor was recently married, Miss Faraji kept her opinions to herself. This is where I think it kind of gets a little interesting here. In approximately July 2016, word spread amongst Fox's employees about a new show that was going to be a big deal, as it would star Mr. Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. And I'm not even gonna lie, like, they were right. Like, Undisputed had such a good run up until like its ending, and like, they were right about this, honestly, because Undisputed in my life, like, okay, I heard about it before I like was into sports, but like as I got into sports, like, this was the go-to show. Like, I haven't watched a single sports analyst show, oh my gosh, I'm stupid, after this show ended. And it's like, yo, the impact of that show was massive. I'm sorry. It was known that Fox was looking for a woman with significant TV experience to also star. Therefore, it came to a surprise when Fox announced that Miss Taylor, who was a bartender and radio host in Miami with very little TV experience, would be the moderator of the new show, a sports debate program, Skip and Shannon Undisputed. Mr. Bayless later disclosed to Miss Faraji that he did not want Miss Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon was adamant that Miss Taylor should star. At first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Miss Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing and acted in a provocative manner. When that did not change Mr. Bayless's opinion of Miss Taylor, Mr. Dixon asked him to approve of her as a favor to him. Reluctantly, Mr. Bayless agreed to do so as a favor to his friend. Around August 2016, Miss Faraji attended a dinner with Miss Taylor and her husband and Mr. Dixon and his wife. During this dinner, Miss Taylor's husband became suspicious that Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon were having a sexual relationship. Soon after the dinner, Miss Taylor's husband found evidence of an inappropriate relationship and divorced Miss Taylor. Honestly, I would say this past like little blurb was like, this sets an awful precedent for women that are in sports analyst positions, because there's already, I guess, like a stigma around them. And I'm saying Miss Taylor like like I'm in court. Joy Taylor is probably one of the most prominent sports women analysts to date, right? And now, like, that stigma is already going to be furthered. It's already going to be, you know, exacerbated by a million, because if all this stuff is true, like, what's to say that other people aren't doing this stuff? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that other people are doing this stuff, but like, it just makes you think. You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't help anybody's case. The next section goes, Mr. Dixon gropes Miss Faraji after putting her on Undisputed. On January 14, 2017, Miss Taylor had her birthday party at Pearl's Rooftop in West Hollywood. Miss Faraji and other Fox employees who were invited attended, as it was a part of their job duties to appease talent, and a birthday party is an important event. As usual, Mr. Dixon was heavily drinking, buying drinks for everyone on a Fox credit card, and bolstering that everything was purchased on Fox's dime. As Miss Faraji was standing near the bar, facing the crowd, Mr. Dixon approached her. He asked the bartender for a drink and then placed his arm on Miss Faraji's lower back. He asked how she was doing and if she was having fun, and if she wanted a tequila shot. Miss Faraji felt very uncomfortable by his unsolicited touching and responded, "No thank you." Mr. Dixon then moved his hand lower and started rubbing her body and grabbing her buttocks. Miss Faraji would be mortified, but quickly thought to fake an incoming call to escape the situation. Miss Faraji did not know who to turn to, but as she knew Miss Taylor was sleeping with Mr. Dixon, she turned to her. Surprisingly, Miss Taylor responded to get over it, and explained that she herself only had her job because of Mr. Dixon, and that Miss Faraji only had her job because Miss Taylor requested her. She warned that Mr. Dixon could take both away. Miss Faraji was terrified, then turned to her coworker, Anonymous, to discuss the situation. Anonymous responded that Mr. Dixon was disgusting, the entire situation was sick, but it wasn't shocking given Fox's culture, and that Miss Faraji should remain quiet if she wanted to keep her job. As a single mother who needed the job to support her son, Miss Faraji had no choice but to remain silent. 7 years later, in 2023, Mr. Peretti told Miss Faraji that she did not like her or anything about Undisputed. Miss Peretti explained that she already had scheduled someone for hair on Undisputed when Mr. Dixon called her and told her that she must put Miss Faraji on Undisputed. So, assuming that any of this is true, right? This is a piss situation to be in. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, she goes to the people and she'll be like, yo, this dude literally just assaulted me. And everybody's like, yo, just keep quiet, don't say anything unless you want to keep your job. And she doesn't have a choice because this is her only job. Like, that's such a rock in a hard place situation to be in, you know? Like, if she wanted to go and tell somebody, if she wanted to, you know, nip it in the bud right there, she probably wouldn't have a job anymore. And honestly, that would suck. Alright, this next section is about Skip Bayless, who, you know, the video is basically about Skip was giving lingering hugs and kisses on the cheek to this one worker who he scheduled to have a haircut once a week, which is kind of crazy. Once a week haircut is insane. But anyway, he was making excuses to see her, but she would try to leave the studio as soon as possible and make excuses like, oh, I have to go pick up my son. But Skip would make more advances as time went on, and it was just a really uncomfortable situation. I'm not trying to downplay what Skip did here, but there's just a lot of document to go through. I'm on page 9 of 42, by the way, so we're just trying to get as much done as possible. So these next two sections I think are the craziest just from like the title alone. Miss Faraji believes she has cancer and conveys this to Mr. Bayless in an attempt to stop his advances, only to have him offer $1.5 million to have sex. What is going on? And then the next one after that, Miss Faraji's job is threatened because she doesn't sleep with Mr. Bayless. We are going into some deep territory right here. Like this, Skip, what are you doing, man? Okay, so over the years, Mr. Bayless continues to make advances on Miss Faraji. Miss Faraji will always make excuses regarding her son, politely changing the topic or make a joke. Anything to keep Mr. Bayless appeased and her job safe. In July of 2021, Miss Faraji developed issues with her left ovary and was advised it could be cancer. With the 4th biopsy scheduled, she explained her situation to Mr. Bayless, hoping that he would take pity on her and cease his advances. Instead, Mr. Bayless told her that he wanted to be with her. Miss Faraji panicked and began rambling that there are cameras everywhere, and that she has a child and that she does not want him. Mr. Bayless then grabbed her hands and began kissing them, and offered her $1.5 million to have sex. Miss Faraji made an excuse to leave. Approximately 1 week later, Mr. Bayless made another advance at Miss Faraji. Miss Faraji responded, "Skip, stop, you have a wife." Mr. Bayless responded, "Aren't you Muslim? Doesn't your dad have like 3 or 4 wives?" That is insane. Skip, I want to aspire to like not care about anything like Skip. Not in this context, of course. That'd be bad. But yo, he does not care. He just says anything out of his mouth. That's crazy. Miss Faraji responded that her father was dead. Oh my god. Yo, this is no amount of context could have prepared me for that response. Okay, to tie this all together, the last part that I thought was interesting, I'm gonna sum up all together. She was going to be fired, and she is fired in June of 2024, but nobody wants her around anymore because of, you know, what was going on, and quote unquote she knows too much. Because Mr. Dixon, the head of the VP of I don't even know, to be honest with you, he was married, and then on top of that, Skip's advances, and then Skip was accusing Shannon Sharpe, his co-host, and I know you guys know Uncle Shannon. He was accusing her of sleeping with him, and later she's fired. Assuming that all this stuff is true, and I'm not going to say it's safe to assume because, you know, we only know one side of the story, and until other people come out and until this case, I'm assuming, is over, we probably aren't going to get a whole lot about, you know, this case, like I said, until it's over. This is a very bad look on FS1. This is very bad look on Fox, and this will probably trickle down to Bob's Burgers because Bob's Burgers is on Fox. Bob's Burgers is getting canceled because of this. But all seriousness, this is crazy. I don't know what else to say besides like, yo, the countless advances, the pure negligence of like, yo, this is a workplace, there's no need to harass people. I thought that was a pretty well-known thing. You don't harass people at all. But what do I know? I just make the YouTube videos here and I just read the documents. So yeah, that's about it. If you guys enjoyed, please consider subscribing. We are bleeding subscribers on Rand's VODs. Let's get Rand's VODs back to 400. So not even a week into 2025 and we are canceling Skip Bayless. We are getting Skip out of here. We most likely cannot have Skip going into 2025. See y'all later.